Hello, I'm Gary Mull, and I'd like to give you some tips today on giving a more effective presentation. The first thing that everyone encounters, in fact, according to the book of List, it's the #1 fear among Americans, is the nervousness that everyone naturally feels when they go to give a presentation. That's common, and if you think about it, everybody is a little bit nervous before they go on. Some people are really nervous. In fact, they think the explosion is just around the corner. What I'm going to do today is give you 5 hard-hitting tips to help you overcome the nervousness that you'll naturally feel in any presentation, and these are guaranteed to work. Number 1, preparation is key. This might seem like common sense, but I have a particular method that I use when I prepare my speeches that works very well for me. I don't worry about memorizing the entire speech. Rather, I start out with an outline of what I'm going to say. I bullet point the outline and I make sure that everything is in a good organizational flow. I also do any background material research that I need to do to make sure I can answer any questions that are given to me from a particular audience. Now, sometimes you'll find you don't have adequate time to research. Sometimes you're just going to have to go with your gut feeling, or sometimes you'll just have to go off the top of your head. But those situations are rare. Normally, you have enough time to at least prepare enough material so that if you have any off-the-wall questions that you are supposed to know the answer to, you'll be able to answer those questions effectively. So the first tip is preparation. If you prepare and you're able to answer those tough questions, you're going to look good. The second tip I have is visualization. And by visualization, I mean you've got to close your eyes and picture yourself doing well in your presentation. If you can, try to get into the venue where you're going to be giving the presentation and try to visualize yourself in front of the room with the audience there, being successful in your presentation. Visualize your introduction. And now, introducing Gary Mull, our speaker for today. Picture yourself walking to the front of the room to thunderous applause, and picture yourself being successful. But any way that you visualize it, visualize yourself being successful. If you can get into the venue, fine. If you can't get into the room, whether it's a boardroom or an auditorium, try to at least get a picture of it, or pop your head in there just a little bit so you can understand how big the room is and what your voice is going to sound like as it reverberates across the walls. Visualization will be one of the keys to your success. The third tip is to actually visualize everything that could possibly go wrong with your presentation. Now wait a minute, you might think I'm nuts here. Why would I want to do that? Why do I want to scare myself? Well, you're already probably a little bit nervous, but if you visualize all the things that could go possibly wrong, you'll realize no matter what happens, you'll live through it. You may get fired, and no, I'm joking. Hopefully, you'll be able to give a better presentation realizing that not only could a lot of things go wrong, but you'll get through it. And that's the key to anything in handling the adversity that may come along. You can handle it. What are some of the things that people are afraid of? Well, number 1, Murphy's Law. Everybody's afraid that Murphy's Law is going to stalk them everywhere they go. Whatever could possibly go wrong will absolutely happen. So if you think about what's the possible outcome that could come from this in the very worst possible way, you'll realize whatever it is, you can handle it. What if you forget your material? What if, worse, you lose your train of thought mid-sentence? What if you have a difficult participant, somebody who challenges you, somebody who maybe knows more than you and questions your veracity or questions your honesty? What if those things happen? What if you spend too much time on your presentation, you have way too much material, or you spent too little time on it, you don't have the background information you need? What if you wind up tongue-tied and you can't get the words out that you want to produce? Or what happens if your equipment goes down, your projector fails, your laptop dies, or the lights go out? Or what happens if you prepared this presentation, you wind up giving it for the wrong audience, so they give you an introduction that has nothing to do with the material that you presented? Well, I have to tell you, those things would be terrible, but I'll also tell you this: you can handle it. Whatever goes wrong, you can handle it, and you'll be prepared and you'll look fine. So don't worry about it. You're not going to an execution, you're going to give a presentation. And that realization will lead you to a better comfort level when you go to actually give the presentation. The fourth tip to helping you overcome your nervousness may sound very strange, but it will work for you. Don't try to memorize your speech. Wait a minute. I didn't say don't be familiar with your material, but don't try to memorize a written speech. It's good to write out your speech and know what direction you want to take and know what you're going to say, but you'll do much better if you bullet point the information and have an outline there in your shirt pocket so that you can talk about the bullet points in case you lose your place, get nervous, or get lost. That's a little security blanket for you, just in case. But if you try to memorize an entire speech, sure enough, you'll lose your place, and then you will look silly trying to reach for those exact words that you wrote so carefully and so so carefully crafted on a piece of paper, it's not going to work for you. So use those bullet points so you can find your place again, because you probably know what it is you want to talk about. And unless you have exact quotes that you want to read, exact figures that you want to share, those are some of the things that you may want to actually bring with you in note format and read directly to the audience. But as far as memorizing the whole thing, don't try to do it. The fifth tip is probably one of the most important tips I can give you today, and this will definitely help to ease the nervousness that you feel, and that is to realize that the presentation is not about the presenter. It's not about you, it's about your audience. And if you can give them what they came to hear, and you can do the best job that you possibly can, having prepared, having gone through all the iterations that you need to go in the research, and give them just the best presentation you can, most of the time they're not going to even know you're nervous, unless you're sweating all over the floor and stammering and shaking and things like that. But most of the time those things are evident only to us and not to the audience. And if you worry about the audience instead of you, you won't worry about things like, is my shoe untied? Am I going to fall down when I go up on the stage? Am I going to forget my material, etc., etc. All those things are very self-focused. So focus on the audience. Think about Christmas time. And if you, at Christmas time, when you have a present to give to somebody, especially a kid, you just wait for them to open it up so you can see the smile on their face and the appreciation that they give you. Think of your audience in the same way. Think about giving them a gift. Well, you are giving them a gift. You're giving them a presentation. You're sharing your knowledge. And so when you give them that gift, be waiting in anticipation to give the gift to them, and not so much focused on yourself and what might go wrong. I guarantee that if you use those 5 tips, preparing properly with a solid outline, visualization, visualizing yourself going to the front of the room and being successful, realizing that whatever might go wrong, you can handle it. Not memorizing the speech, preparing properly with the material. And number 5, don't focus on you, focus on the audience. I guarantee if you use these 5 tips, you will reduce the amount of nervousness that you feel when you give a presentation. And even though you may not get completely rid of the butterflies, you'll at least get them to fly in formation and work for you instead of against you. I'm Gary Mull, and you can find me at GaryMull.com.